Hey there, gang. Thanks for coming back. Appreciate that. This is part 2 of the unboxing of this particular box. I got super chatty in the first part, and we actually didn't get that deep into the box before I decided I was going to have to cut the video in two, just because I had a little diarrhea of the mouth. But now we are into what I think the rest of this box is probably going to be some Bronze Age stuff, as you can see in the picture here, the stuff that was not bagged and boarded. So if that's your thing, if you like comic books, from, well, let's say around the 70s or so, stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey, Bubby, welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke. I've already told you everything we're about here in this video, so please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the groovy things, and let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. Already pulled out a stack here, and we're going to go through the rest of this box. You can see the first little bit of the box in the last video, and you can find that in the rundown of videos on the channel. But we're going to pick up here where we left off. Like I said, I think the rest of this box is going to be 1970s Marvel books, Bronze Age books, and in pretty decent shape. And so we're starting here, Where Monsters Dwell, Tower of Shadows. I think these books mostly, Chamber of Darkness, mostly reprinted, the pre-hero Marvel books from the Atlas era, although some of them did have some new stories. Oh, interesting. So I guess I lied to you. Here's at least one thing that's different. This is Haunted #1. So this is a CHARLTON book, and this is obviously Steve Ditko with the art in here. Revenge of the Slave Ghost. Huh. That's pretty cool. Marvel Superheroes, that's an early reprint series. Here's Incredible Hulk. It doesn't say Incredible, but it is. Number 109. Kazar, he popped all over the place in this era. Guest starred in a lot of Marvel books. Umbu, the Unliving, number 110. Number 111. Looks like we're going to get a nice little run of Hulk here. Here is 112. 113 with the Sandman. 114, still Sandman and Mandarin. 115 with the Leader. Lo, the Leader lives. Number 116. Number 117. Some Submariner here, and number 118, and that's number 118 is the first 15-cent issue. There are people that like to collect, the transitions, the first 12-cent issue, the first 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on. Not really a thing in more recent price hikes of the last 20 or 30 years, but through the 60s, 70s, and even a bit into the 80s, there are actually people who that's a thing. They like to get the first of the new price point. So anyway, Incredible Hulk 118 was the first 15-cent issue. And we're going along here. The Glob, looking very kind of Man-Thing-ish. Oh, look, we've got another one. The Leader is back. Wrath of the Rhino, number 124. The Absorbing Man, number 125. And Hulk, at this time, under oh God, I'm going to have to look up the name because I'm blanking on it. Trimp, Herb Trimp. He just looked like a big regular guy. He didn't really look as monstrous as he had previously been portrayed and would later be portrayed. He just looked like kind of a big green guy. This is a version of the Hulk that you could easily picture just being, Lou Ferrigno with some green body paint. Today, you kind of need the CGI because it's hard to accept the Hulk as anything other than that giant inhuman monster. Here's the Glob again. The Glob is back. And I guess the Glob kind of looks like a, not just a Take on a Man-Thing, but maybe a cross between, it's like, what if Man-Thing and the Shaggy Man had a baby? Number 130, 131 with some Iron Man. 132, Hydra. 134. What do you think the odds are we've got 181 in this box? Pretty slim, probably. 134. 135, 1971. The most unexpected guest star of the year, Kang. There's the Abomination in number 137. Sandman's back, 138. Everybody's in 139. Who have we got here? We've got Rhino, the Abomination, Absorbing Man, Glob, Mandarin, and I don't know who this person is supposed to be. I don't know. Do you know? Let me know in the comments below. This is kind of a classic. The Brute That Shouted Love at the Heart of the Atom. Harlan Ellison. So that's a classic book. Very big deal, that one, kind of. Here's some Valkyrie. They shoot Hulks, don't they? 142. Dr. Doom in 143. More Dr. Doom. Now, says still 15 cents, so you know what that means, don't you? It's not going to be 15 cents much longer. That was the giveaway when I was a kid. Whenever you saw that still whatever price, you had to start gearing yourself up. That's when this was basically the warning to you as a fan, as a comic book reader and collector, that you needed to start going to your parents and laying the groundwork, making the argument for a raise in your allowance. Because pretty soon your $2 weekly allowance was going to get you fewer comics. So you had to start making that argument for the higher allowance, because they were letting you know by still 15 cents wasn't going to be much longer before it was going to be something else, and boom, here we go, 25 cents. That was a huge price increase from 144 to 145. But, and I've told this story before in previous videos, so skip ahead if you know this story. But there was DC and Marvel, I won't call it price fixing, but there was this agreement between them to go up from 15 cents to 25 cents. And the conventional wisdom at the time is that comic book sales were cratering in large part because retailers, the corporate America, was kind of buying up all the mom and pop shops. And so corporate America was more concerned with the bottom line and how much rack space does something take up versus the profit. And so comic books were a low profit, high maintenance type of item. And they also brought in a lot of kids, right? Which, when you're talking, instead of the corner mom and pop store, and now you're like a Walgreens or something, or whatever, whatever Laverdier's drugstore here in Maine. I don't know what would have been in your neck of the woods, Piggly Wiggly or something. Maybe they don't want kids kind of hanging out in the store. They don't want that kid magnet, and so places were carrying fewer and fewer comic books, just not dedicating the space to them. And so the idea was that, well, if we increase the price and give most of that to the retailer, if they're making more money, that will incentivize them to still display the books, and it'll at least maybe slow the bleeding a little bit. So Marvel and DC were both going to go up to 25 cents. Marvel did it for 1 month, and then Martin Goodman, publisher of Marvel, pulled a fast one on Carmine Infantino, the publisher over at DC, and pulled back. And the very next month, well, this one isn't it, because we don't have 146 here, but trust me, 146 went down to 20 cents. Well, DC stayed at its larger price point, and in both cases, I'm pretty sure in both cases, but at least in DC's case, because, see, the thing is they justified the larger price point by having it be a larger book, and you can see it's square bound, and so you had more pages, and so the sell to the collector, to the reader, was, yes, it's more money, but it's a better value because you're getting more pages. It's actually costing you less money per page, and so that was the pitch. But again, Marvel only did it for 1 month, and then that left DC kind of stranded out there so that, and they filled out the books to make them larger. They filled it out with reprints. And so for about a year, 18 months or so, Marvels are on the stands at 20 cents. DC books are on the stands at 25 cents, with most of it being reprints. And reprints weren't, looked down upon so much at that time, because you didn't have trade paperbacks and other ways of obtaining that material. It wasn't stuff people had seen reprinted a million times before. A lot of times it was as good as getting a new story, practically. So it wasn't a bad publishing plan, but because Marvels were a nickel less, and if you weren't successful in arguing for that a raise in your allowance that I had discussed, you could get 4 DCs for $1, or you could get 5 Marvels for the same dollar. And that is actually when Marvel finally overtook DC in sales. It wasn't until that point, all through the Silver Age, Marvel sold less than DC. And it was at that bait and switch with the 25-cent price increase, where Marvel only did it for 1 month after agreeing they were both going to do it. That is when Marvel overtook DC in sales, and but for the spare month here or there, never looked back. So that's your history lesson for this video. And again, some of you have heard me tell that story before, but yeah. And again, I might have to split this video, or this box. I might have to split this box into 3 videos now, because I just can't resist running off of the mouth. So let's keep going. There was 149. There's 151. Here's 152. We've got a nice little run of Hulk books. 153. 154 with Ant-Man. And that's the Hank Pym Ant-Man. And right about this time, Ant-Man had a solo series in Marvel Feature. 155, Blitzkrieg in 1972. 156, Hulk v. Hulk. And you can see they're starting to beef him up a little bit. Rhino's back in 158, Counter-Earth. The Abomination is back in 159. Tiger Shark, 160. The Beast, the blockbusting Beast. So this is very early. Around this time, the Beast had a solo series in Amazing Adventures, and they had just turned him into this furry creature. So this was a new look for Hank McCoy at this time. And how is he colored in here? He's kind of bluish there on the cover. How is he colored inside? Are we even going to find him? Where the heck is he? See, no, he's kind of gray still. So for the first few issues, is he only just there? He's got to be in here more than just that splash. No, there he is. So that Amazing Adventure series, for the first few issues, they colored the Beast gray. And then they decided that that kind of washed out on the newsprint. Didn't look that good. The gray tended to blend into the black, so they started coloring him blue. And that's really just artistic license. The movies should not have a blue Beast, because he's really not blue. He's more of a grayish black. But they just, for artistic license, in the comic books, they colored him blue the same way the highlights in Superman's hair are blue. Superman doesn't have blue hair. That's just a convention that they used at the time with the coloring technology as it was. But because the gray Beast visually wasn't that exciting, and it tended to wash out, bleed together, they colored him blue. So this crossover would have been pretty early in that run in Amazing Adventures, concurrent with that, because they haven't switched him over to blue yet. Moving on, 163, 164, 165, Aquan, the Murderous Manfish. Huh. I could use some Aquan today. When was the last time they had any Aquan? MODOK. Have you seen the MODOK cartoon? I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's awful. Here's Hulk versus some bunch of aliens. Another, this is a very nice condition copy, too, of 171. Rhino and the Abomination. Here's the leader. Oh, so I guess that's as far as we're going to get into that run. Sometimes in these boxes, we will see a low-grade copy of 180 or 182, which is the technical first appearance of Wolverine, and he's got a cameo in 182. Both of those books are like one panel. So on either side of the first appearance of Wolverine in 181. But we're not going to be so lucky. It looks like that run's going to stop at 171. We've got the king size special number 3. Somebody wanted to make it clear this was probably done at the newsstand, with all the other books at the time being 15 cents. So the owner of the store wanted to make it clear to his cashiers to pay attention. Don't charge 15 cents for that book, out of force of habit. Here's a Doctor Strange, number 177, so the numbering picked up from Strange Tales, and the book wasn't doing that well, so they tried to turn Doctor Strange into more of a superhero, give him a superhero look. And really, other than the gloves with the gauntlets on them and the full face mask, his look really wasn't that much different. And it also didn't help. He ended up canceled not that long after. Here's an earlier issue, 175. Here's the marriage of Yellow Jacket, Hank Pym, and the Wasp. Avengers number 60. Floating Heads. Love Floating Heads. And I think we're going to end up with a nice little run of the Avengers here. Let's see how many Avengers we get. Oh, we're going to get quite a few, because I can see the next stack is still Avengers. So 61, and see here's the superhero Doctor Strange. There's some Man-Ape, 62. Goliath, that's actually Hawkeye. Number 63. Number 64. 66. John Buscema did some good covers with Hawkeye as Goliath, always being the big guy reaching up from above or below or something. Ultron, 67. Oh, did we? So, yeah, we go from 64 to 66. So I'm not sure if 65 is the first 15 center or if this one is. But one or the other, definitely. Vision is drunk. He's been chewing gum. 68. Here's number 69. Ah, there's the Squadron Sinister. I think is that their first appearance? I think it is. Now, I have been saying in the MCU, wouldn't it be cool, because they've been kind of rejected from their roles in the DCEU, so if the MCU, the Marvel movies, were to cast the Squadron Sinister, wouldn't it be cool if they cast Henry Cavill as Hyperion, Ben Affleck as Nighthawk, and because he did a Green Lantern movie, Ryan Reynolds as Dr. Spectrum? I don't know who you would do as the Wizard, because Ezra Pound is still part of the DCEU. I don't think you could get away with using the guy on the CW show, or even John Wesley Snipes from the earlier show. So they probably need a whole new Wizard. But anyway, those three at least, that would be pretty cool in the MCU. It's very, very meta. Captain Marvel and Scorpio was a big arc here in the Avengers, and also there was a big arc with the Scorpio gang and Defenders a little later. Number 73. Here's again Hawkeye as Goliath, kind of reaching up from down below. 74. Reaching from the back. There's Quicksilver. Nice drawing of Scarlet Witch. 75. Issue 76. Again, here he is, reaching up. 77. 78. 79 with the Lethal Legion. So who have we got here? This is Man-Ape. I believe that's the Grim Reaper, the Swordsman, the Living Laser, and that is the original Power Man. Brainchild. It's one of those What are they called there in Star Trek from the pilot episode, The Cage? What were they? Mucklocks? No, what? What race were they? Oh, I'm not a good Trekker. Of course, I couldn't remember the Modern Family. That was it. And actually, I think that was the last video. So some of you are like, what the hell? If you're just watching this video, you're like, what the hell is that all about? Couldn't remember the name of the Modern Family show, but it's because we saw an issue of Married with Children #1. Okay, so let's just cut around and keep on going. 88 of Avengers, 89. You know, I grew up with the classic, Arrow A Avengers logo, and it's surprising to me how long that logo lasted. The kind of funky mod Avengers logo. And here's this is before she the Wasp was wearing a different costume in like every issue. It would be fun, and they could actually do this. Well, how would they do it? I guess you could do it online, but if they did like a fashion show with like every costume the Wasp has worn through the years, like how many do you think there have been? I bet you it's got to be over 100, and it might be over 200 different costumes that Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, has worn over the years. So there's got to be a website out there that's got them all and could post them all, count them down, do a Casey Kasem countdown. I'm Casey Kasem. I'll have to cut that out because that was not a good imitation at all. But no, I was thinking maybe they could do like an alternate cover month where the Wasp is, but she's not that popular a character. But you could have an alternate cover. Every title had the Wasp in a different costume on it. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't work. So here's number 91. 92. Is this Neil Adams? I think that is Neil Adams. He had a short little run here on the Avengers. Still 15 cents. So you know what that means. It's number 92. So at some point here, between number 92 and 97, we went up. We had our 25-cent issue, and then came back down to 20 cents. So here's a lot of characters from the Golden Age, revived via Rick Jones. Obviously, Subby, Human Torch, and Cap. But we had the Blazing Skull. I think that's the Patriot, the original Vision, and I think his name was the Finn. Here's Hercules, number 99. I thought we were going to have 100. Instead, we go right to 101. Harlan Ellison. I guess he had, was it Harlan Ellison month? I guess he did like a one-off in everything. 102, Grim Reaper. Some Sentinels in 103. I think Barry Windsor Smith is doing the art around this time. No, this is Rich Buckler. But there's a run of issues in here around the time Neil Adams did a handful of issues. Barry Windsor Smith then did a few. It's number 106. Grim Reaper in 107. 108. And you can see Hawkeye went back to being Hawkeye after being Goliath for a while. And this costume, frankly, this sort of headband, Native American-y inspired costume is frankly a little embarrassing. I don't think we could have got, he didn't really ever wear a traditional costume in the movies at all. But Jeremy Renner, I don't think we ever could have got him in that costume. We could try. Oh, and here he is. He's back to his regular old duds. So good for him. Some Magneto action, 110. Keep in mind the X-Men really haven't taken off. They're not a thing at this point. In fact, I think the X-Men title was actually in reprints at this point. So they were just looking for some way to kind of goose the X-Men a little bit. Well, I guess that's as far as we're going to get. Now we're into the specials. There's number 2, number 3. Some of these are reprints. Some of them are new materials. Here's reprints. Marvel Superheroes. Again, we've spoken about that before. And this is the last stack in this box. So maybe we'll get away with just doing 2 videos out of this box. Astonishing Tales number 1. a double book, a doublet with Khazar and Doctor Doom. Submariner number 21. Amazing Adventures number 1 with the Inhumans and Black Widow. And I believe some of the Inhuman stories had Neil Adams art, and many of the Black Widow stories had Gene Colan art. Marvel Collector's Item Classic. This is kind of a book, you know, they do the facsimiles, but I wouldn't mind kind of a reprint, a regular reprint book today like this, you know, that published 2 or 3. You know, I bought the big omnibus that's coming out in August, where they're reprinting every book that was on the stands from Marvel at the same time as Fantastic Four number 1. And I normally don't buy omnibus books because they're out of my price range. They're too damn expensive. You know, except when there's like, you know, some 70% off deal where somebody's trying to clear out stock. But I got that one because it was solicited far enough in ahead that I could, when the concept was cool, but also just because it was solicited far enough ahead that I could save the funds. But in this case, with I could go for something like this today. You know, maybe I don't know how much this would have to be. Something this size, an 80-page book, they probably want you $10 for it, which again is unreasonable. But I could go for a reprint book today that maybe reprinted 3 or so issues. Oh, you know, classic Silver Age. I could go for a book that reprinted some of the Atlas era stuff, much like this one. That's what Fear originally was, reprinting the pre-hero Atlas stuff. Where Monsters Dwell, which again did that same thing. Gruto, reprinting those earlier books. Chamber of Darkness, I think, had original material. I think. We could probably tell quickly, yeah, just looking at it, we can see that's original. From Beyond the Unknown, that was kind of the same thing from DC, reprinting their earlier sci-fi stuff. Marvel's Greatest Comics, that started out reprinting a bunch of different stuff, but pretty quickly settled on a run of just reprinting Fantastic Four. Where Monsters Dwell, that one looks... Did they transition? No, let's see, that's still obviously reprinting older stuff. I wasn't sure if at some point they transitioned into new stuff, but nope, these are all reprints of monster stories. This is number 1. Where Monsters Dwell, number 1. Huh. Daredevil. We're going to close out and see. We had a run of Zodiac and Daredevil as well. Marvel Triple Action. That was another reprint series that eventually, again, started out reprinting Fantastic Four and other things, but eventually ended up being a series that reprinted earlier Avengers books. And here's Marvel Premiere number 3. So after his series got canceled, we saw earlier in this box the run that continued from Strange Tales and the attempt to make him a superhero, you know, more traditional superhero look. Didn't quite work out. The title was canceled. And it was you know, a couple, 2, 3, 4 years after that, they revived Doctor Strange. I won't say revived, but they gave him his own series again here in Marvel Premiere. And this lasted, he lasted in Marvel Premiere, I think. Well, the first couple issues of Marvel Premiere were Warlock. And then he got his own series. And so this is actually number 3 is the first one with Doctor Strange. And I think he lasted until number 14. And then Iron Fist made his debut. But the run was well received enough that Doctor Strange then got his own title once again. And that run lasted, I think, 81 issues, something like that. Well, anyway, that's the end of that box. And so I guess it's a good thing that we had Stan as our mascot this time out, since that was all a lot of Marvel stuff and a lot of Marvel stuff that Stan himself wrote. So, thank you for watching. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the groovy things. We'll see you next time out. And until then, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.